So for my current event project, I'm focusing on the human resource management in remote working. So essentially, how human resource managers can most effectively use remote working in order to increase productivity and morale in the workplace. So remote working, also known as work from home, mobile work, and telework, is an employment procedure where an employee does not commute to a central place of work in order to accomplish day-to-day duties. So the focus of my kind of analysis is going to be how managers can maximize productivity while also keeping up worker morale and worker retention. Some background in it. Due to COVID-19, as we all know, remote working became a necessity in some professions. And even after COVID-19, sort of as it's fallen to the background of day-to-day life, it's still continued. And a lot of workplaces are starting to permanently use it as forms of employment for their employees. According to a recent Forbes study, 97% of employees say they do not wish to turn to the office full time. So it'd be a good idea for a lot of companies to decide to how they're going to use remote work in the future and how to do it effectively for their business. The public organization I'm looking at is going to be the City of Tallahassee. So the City of Tallahassee is the local public organization that runs everything from utilities, parks and recreation, transportation, and public safety in the city. The City of Tallahassee recently updated their remote work policy. They actually have had a remote work policy since 2008. They revised it a bit during COVID and then have since also revised it again in order to sort of solidify for the future what their remote work policies are going to be, like policies and guidelines. So this specific policies and guidelines that they've released ensure that productivity stays up while also allowing the employees to have some freedoms that the office wouldn't offer. Some specific quotes from their HR release for the remote work guidelines. They said, teleworking provides an opportunity for an employee to perform their job at a location other than the office or usual place of work using computers, video conferencing, or other forms of telecommunications. So this is just reiterating what we already know about what remote work is, but using the official language that the City of Tallahassee is using. Then they go on to say, teleworking is intended to create flexible work arrangements that meet the needs, expectations of the work unit, while affording the employee greater flexibility on work location. So again, giving them that flexibility while still keeping up with their duties. Employees who telework are expected to perform all essential functions of their job. So again, kind of balancing that flexibility with still performing their essential functions. So here are some of the effects that remote work have had for the city, some that we've already seen, and then kind of what I think is going to come in the future with these remote work guidelines. So as myself being an employee for the City of Tallahassee, I can say anecdotally that most of all the employees I've interacted with have really enjoyed the fully remote working, and then others have enjoyed at least going back and forth from remote work to then going to the office. So having remote work at some capacity has been really popular for all the individuals I've spoken to. The new guidelines that have come out, there are still pretty strict limitations for like the remote working guidelines. This is including that the remote work must be done from employees' homes. It cannot be taken anywhere else. So that means you can't like go on vacation and do remote work. You can't take it really anywhere else except your home, and they're pretty strict about that. They've also explained that employees may not use remote work to take care of any children at home. It has to be when you're at work, even if you're remote, you're only doing work and you're not kind of splitting your focus between two things. These guidelines would increase the productivity of the employees, but it also would most likely decrease the fondness of these employees have of remote work. That may be on purpose, but that's just kind of the effect that I've seen that they're having. It's the manager's job to decide where the happy medium line is. They've seemed to chosen kind of leaning more towards the increased productivity of making stricter guidelines. As we just discussed, there are benefits of the productivity and increased quality of life for employees, which may lead to higher retention rates. Again, this is a delicate balancing act that managers must partake in. They've got to ensure the maximum productivity without compromising the feelings and morale of the employees. The city of Tallahassee currently, as I said before, seems to be highly limiting this flexibility in deciding how remote work is going to work. And this may be strengthened or softened as time goes on. They still can change their policies as they please in the future. So here's some 5 steps to success in remote working and some recommendations that I have for the city of Tallahassee. So 1, they've got to look back on what has been learned through the crisis. So during COVID, they really they were forced to do remote work. We can kind of now look back and see what went right, what went wrong, what can be fixed for the future, and really push forward of what the city wants to get done here in the next 5 to 10 years, which goes perfectly into the second point, looking forward to where the division should be in 5 to 10 years. This doesn't have to be a citywide where they want to be, just kind of they can work individually in, like as I said earlier, the Parks and Rec, transportation, public safety, where each of these divisions want to be individually the next 5 to 10 years, and then kind of how remote work can fit into that and how they can use it to their advantage, which then goes into designing a new balance. This is going to be kind of our new normal from now on, and the city's got to really learn how to design this new balance in such a way that they are keeping up with that productivity, but also, again, utilizing this new tool that they have of remote work to increase the morale and employee retention and all the kind of qualitative aspects of it that they can be utilizing with remote work. And they engage in co-design, really engaging with the workers, asking what they like about it, what could be fixed to increase their productivity, really working from the ground up of how to make this remote work best for the city and for the employees, which then goes into the 5th point, pilot, test, learn, and adjust. So don't be afraid to fail with this kind of stuff. Using remote work as an experiment, testing stuff, learning from it, adjusting, and then, going back to the drawing board, trying it again, just using it as a cycle of pilot, test, learn, and adjust. And that's going to be how the city is going to most effectively use remote work going on in the future. References, and thank you for listening to my presentation.